The Amazing Spider-Man, 1977. Released on September 14, 1977, The Amazing Spider-Man is a made-for-television film directed by E.W. Swackhamer and starring Nicholas Hammond as the title character. It's the origin story of the Amazing Spider-Man. Young Peter Parker, bitten by a radioactive spider, navigates through high school and a crazed mutant professor as he comes to terms with his powers. Spider-Man Strikes Back, 1978. Spider-Man Strikes Back was released on May 8, 1978, only a year after the first ever Spider-Man movie. It was still a made-for-television film directed by Ron Satlof, but is still played by Nicholas Hammond as the titular character. Here, Spider-Man swings to the rescue when a nuclear bomb created by 3 college students falls into criminal hands. Spider-Man 2002. Directed by Sam Raimi, the film follows young Peter Parker, now played by Tobey Maguire, as he develops super speed, strength, and the ability to produce webs and stick to walls after getting bitten by a genetically enhanced spider. The movie is set in modern-day New York City and establishes Mary Jane Watson as Peter's love interest. The film also stars Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane Watson and Willem Dafoe as the villain, Green Goblin. Here, Maguire's Parker wears a red ski mask and a long sleeve with a spray-painted black spider logo when he fights in a cage match, and later when he pursues his uncle's killer. He eventually upgrades to a skin-tight suit with raised gray webbing and triangle-shaped eyes. Spider-Man 2, 2004. Here, Tobey Maguire returns to take on his mentor Otto Octavius, played by Alfred Molina, who is transformed into Dr. Octopus following an experiment gone wrong. To make it harder for Parker this time around, his powers are failing him, and his relationship with Mary Jane is on the rocks. During the final battle, however, she learns Spider-Man's identity and resolves to be with Peter regardless. This movie is widely regarded as one of the greatest superhero films ever made. Peter Parker's superhero costume in Spider-Man 1 reappears in Spider-Man 2 with a slightly larger and differently shaped Spider-Man emblem. While the red portions of the suit are larger and the blue portions are darker, the overall design remains unchanged. Spider-Man 3, 2007. The final film in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy is said to be the most disappointing. It showed most of the series' main actors return, such as Maguire as Peter Parker, Dunst as Mary Jane, and James Franco as Harry Osborn. But this time, Spider-Man is forced to face off against 2 foes, the dangerous symbiote Venom, who has attached itself to fellow journalist Eddie Brock, portrayed by Topher Grace, and Flint Marko, a small-time thug who had a role in the death of Peter's Uncle Ben. Also, Peter Parker's relationship with Mary Jane begins to strain, partially because the black alien goo that affixes itself to his suit changes his personality. The movie ends with Peter getting rid of the symbiote and returning with Mary Jane. In Spider-Man 3, the original Spidey uniform is enhanced by a parasitic creature from space. It latches onto Peter, turning his suit pitch black and modifying his emblem, which looks slightly more aggressive with the front legs curled in at more of an angle on the chest and back. When the web slinger separates himself from the alien, he returns to the red and blue color scheme of the standard outfit. The Amazing Spider-Man, 2012. In 2012, Sony rebooted the Spider-Man franchise with Andrew Garfield in the lead role as Peter Parker and Emma Stone as the love interest Gwen Stacy. The film sees Parker discover some of his deceased father's research into a way for humans to regrow lost limbs. Peter turns these notes over to his father's former partner, Kurt Connors, who uses the new information to attempt a dangerous experiment that makes him a violent humanoid reptile known as the Lizard. Garfield first dons a red mask and sunglasses to fight criminals, then creates a textured bodysuit with thin yellow lenses. The spider symbol on his chest and back gets a redesign, with the lower legs of the spider extending right up to the costume's belt. He also has wrist-mounted web shooters that release webs at the flick of a hand. Which Spider-Man movie was your favorite, and which did you like the least? Let us know in the comments section below. The Amazing Spider-Man 2, 2014. Here, Garfield remained to portray Parker, while Jamie Foxx stars as the villain Electro. Not only does Peter battle with Electro in this film, but he must contend with his terminally ill friend Harry Osborn, who believes Spider-Man's blood could hold the key to curing him. Upon discovering that Spider-Man is Peter, Osborn drops Gwen Stacy through the top of a clock tower, killing her. Following the death of his girlfriend, Peter nearly gives up being Spider-Man, but returns to fight Rhino after watching a recording of Gwen's graduation speech. Peter wears a new suit he and Gwen designed together, The creators also upgraded the suit with more prominent eyes. They also made the lenses noticeably whiter, rectifying the Amazing Spider-Man 1's mistake of coloring them yellow. Captain America: Civil War, 2016. After its own Spider-Man universe collapsed, Sony agreed to let the Spider-Man character be used by Marvel in the MCU. This led to the debut of Tom Holland as Peter Parker in Civil War. When Captain America and Tony Stark fell on opposite sides of a debate over government control of superhumans, they recruit their teams to face off, leading to Tony visiting Peter's apartment in New York City. Spider-Man: Homecoming, 2017. Following his adventure with Tony Stark, played by Robert Downey Jr., Holland's Peter Parker returns home to his life with his Aunt May. 15-year-old Peter Parker worked as an intern for Tony Stark. Impatient for the chance to prove himself to his mentor, he strikes out on his own to tackle the bad guys. However, after a run-in with the Vulture, he learns the hard way that he may not yet be ready to step into the superhero's shoes. He faced Adrian Toomes, a former construction worker selling recovered weapons from the Battle of New York in the first Avengers film. Holland's Peter doesn't make his own suit, as has been tradition. Instead, he gets a technologically advanced version of the uniform from Tony Stark. The Stark suit has animated eyes, a retractable wingsuit, a hidden parachute, a flying drone emblem, and special webbing abilities. When Stark takes it back, Parker instead wears a sleeveless hoodie and a red mask with black goggles to fight against the Vulture. Avengers: Infinity War, 2018. In Spider-Man's third entry in the MCU, Tom Holland showed one of the most heartbreaking moments in the 20-plus film series when Peter Parker's fate followed the snap. Spider-Man also fought in the Iron Spider armor, which is basically an Iron Man suit designed for Spider-Man. Avengers: Endgame, 2019. While Spider-Man isn't featured a lot in Endgame, this Avengers installment is important for the future of the MCU and Spider-Man, as it sets up Peter Parker as the potential future leader of the Avengers. Tom Holland delivers another tearjerker too, when his mentor Tony Stark makes the ultimate sacrifice. Spider-Man: Far From Home, 2019. Holland returns in the 2019 sequel Spider-Man: Far From Home. While mourning Tony Stark's loss, Peter travels to Europe on summer vacation with his friend Ned and his crush Michelle MJ Jones-Watson, played by Zendaya. His trip is cut short when Nick Fury shows up and asks him to step up against the creatures known as the Elementals, alongside a newly arrived hero, Mysterio. Since Far From Home picks up where Avengers: Endgame left off, Peter Parker's main costume is the metallic iron spider suit featuring a bevy of electronic upgrades and a gold trim. Spider-Man: No Way Home, 2021. Spider-Man: No Way Home follows the events from Far From Home and sees Parker's secret identity revealed to the whole world by Mysterio. Desperate, Peter turns to Doctor Strange, who casts a spell to erase the knowledge that he's Spider-Man from everyone's memory. However, the spell goes sideways, opening the multiverse, bringing in 3 generations of Spider-Men together and some of their greatest rogues from the pre-MCU franchises. Willem Dafoe is back as Norman Osborn, Alfred Molina is back as Otto Octavius, Jamie Foxx as Electro, and the list goes on. To help Tom Holland fight his laundry list of Spider-Man villains, former Spider-Man actors Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield reprise their versions of Peter Parker, who have been transported to the MCU by Doctor Strange's spell. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button to watch more of our videos.